Step aside from the others, and I will show you the secrets of the stars. This is the best of my recollection of Jesus' words to Judas after he challenged all of the apostles one evening, walking in on them late and laughing at them in a critical way, and Judas was the only one who spoke up, and this is from the Bible scholars' interpretations of Judas' gospel. And so that was a couple weeks ago, and so I want to further into that about, well, when he singled him out there, step aside from the others. Every scenario that I read in the Bible, I apply to the here and the now, because these were humans then, and we are humans today, and there's stuff that we still do it. And so, as he's told him to step aside from the others, I will show you the secrets of the stars. This is a moment. The other apostles are sitting there, and in the here and the now, from what I have experienced in relationships, the others would be kind of jealous or envious, or hey, why is he getting step aside and singled out, and I'm going to show you more than them. This is very real to me, but it also makes perfect sense. I really hope that I am not the only one talking about this stuff, because when I saw this in 2007 on MSNBC, even the scholars were questioned about their ideas after interpreting Judas' gospel, and it seemed, to the best of my recall, that they didn't think it changed anything, that they still think of Judas Iscariot as a traitor. And this is very disturbing to me, because Judas is one of the chosen. His work is evidence, and I'm sure, if you recall my other services, these people, there's only 2 out of the 12 chosen. That is just ridiculous, that people are drawing conclusions, and I think that is one of the big tests here about the Bible and Jesus' mission to come here and give us a second chance by demonstrating the teachings of how to treat each other as you would like to be treated. And I want to reflect, before I go further, about Judas, Moses even. When Moses brought back 10 commandments, one of them, thou shalt not murder. Well, then he turned right around and broke his own commandment that he brought back. Did he not realize, he was there and participated, and even if he didn't participate, he was around for this whole stoning of the couple who committed adultery. At least this is the depictions that I've seen, like some of the films. I'm not a scholar of the Bible by any means. For especially the Holy Bible, I really focus on what did Jesus say, and that's my main focus. But so the depictions of Moses are that he came back and broke one of the same commandments that he wrote from God, is thou shalt not murder. So they murdered the couple that committed adultery, and my God, stoning to death. When I go further with Judas, let's just say, if I were him, I really feel like, I probably would have done the hanging too, because I would rather do that than be stoned to death. So let me come back to, step aside from the others, I will show you the secrets of the stars. So he tells this to Judas, because Judas confidently proclaims, well, you are Son of God, that's who we say you are, we pray because you taught us to. And then Jesus instructs him to, and this is in private, to deliver him. So Judas is I mean, who wouldn't be perplexed by this? He explains that he cries about it. He has nightmares about it. He tells Jesus he has nightmares that the other apostles stone him to death. And not only that, but that's one thing, okay, but another thing is that Jesus also, with his claim, you know, I'm going to show you the secrets of the stars, he transforms in front of Judas. I mean, I don't know if the words are said this way on the report, that he comes to Judas as a child. Judas writes that Jesus comes to him as a child, and Jesus comes to him as a bird. So he comes to him in different forms. This is pretty radical compared to other writings, of course, in our modern Testament, if you read it. But so I feel like, well, this was part of his preparation for Judas. You know, Judas, first of all, demonstrates some pretty, faith, unconditional faith, and it makes me consider in my own life, you know, what if someone that I consider my teacher and that I call master comes to me and says, I need you to deliver me. I need you to do this, even though, yes, I will be murdered, but I need you to do this, the deliberation of his murder. Could I do that? I mean, if you ask yourself the same question, I think this really speaks of the test of life that God really presented here in order to give us a second chance. I mean, it's not about putting his son or himself in a human form up on a cross to be murdered for the sake of sin. How does that do anything? How is that going to save us? What does save us, though, is the responsibility, meaning now you are responsible. Now you have seen these miracles. Now you've been shown, just as Jesus showed Judas these radical, miraculous things like his change of formation. So it's like, okay, now you've been shown, and so back to Judas, though, and his reaction, like, well, he's crying about the nightmares and stoning to death, and then he asked Jesus, why? He's asking him why he wants him to do this, and Jesus never really answers him in his gospel, according to his gospel. Jesus only points at the North Star, or what is believed in that time as the North Star. He points at it and he says, that is you, that's all I can tell you. And for me, this is really important because it's about unconditional faith once again. It's about, okay, I've shown you these other things that, to build your faith, to help you with what's going to happen, because what he is assigning Judas to do is a really tough mission. So, back to what I'm talking about, I apply everything to the here and the now. I don't know what I would do, because think about it. If you think about it for yourself as well, could you go down in history looking like a villain? I mean, he's not asking Judas to directly murder him, but he is asking him to do something that people are not going to understand, and that he will be judged for. And yes, he probably would have been stoned to death. I mean, they didn't have guns then. So, I mean, there's no gun to stick up in the back of your throat and blast it out in a minute. That kind of luxury is not there. So I probably would have hung myself too if I had the faith to do such a thing. I really don't know. Nobody has all the answers, but it makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense that this kind of this kind of situation had to happen. It's absolutely brilliant as well, because it tests those who say, oh, I have faith. And I want to reflect here in the Bible from Matthew. I think this speaks of it a lot. This people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching as their doctrines the precepts of men. And this is chapter 15, verse 8 and 9 in Matthew. So, I mean, it's back to that. Okay, they say it, all this crap. They say and say and say. And I said this in my intro. You know, we can say and say and say, but we are what we do. And I think that Judas' mission was a really tough one. He had to do something that people wouldn't understand. He had to go down in history looking like a villain. If I had to do something like that, I know that I would so not let them murder me. I would do it my own way, as of somehow, suffering a long, drawn-out death, like stoning to death. So I know I'm not really even doing the justice of what Judas, but I just need to talk about that because I don't hear anyone else doing it. Even Joel Osteen. I truly admire him. He's been one of the most uplifting ministers. And even him, I don't hear anyone acknowledging this evidence. So in closing, I want to say a prayer for us all. Father, and I just say Father only because it's one thing to say. Let me just say God instead. God, keep our minds safe and healthy. And I say that because keep our minds safe and healthy is understood, but I don't like to just say Father. I think God is mother, father, brother, sister, it's all of us. We are Master's pieces of the Master. And Jesus was really God in a human form. And that's just an opinion. But it's the reason I reverence. And I hope you will consider Judas' Gospel.